Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. So as you can tell from the title, I found another dupe for the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I did previously say that I'm not gonna do any more dupes because I have done 4 already. If you haven't seen them yet, just have a look on my channel. I've done them quite close to each other, so you should be able to find them all. I didn't think I will do any more, but then I found this brand called Technic when I was looking for dupes for the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera palette, and I picked up all of the Anastasia Beverly Hills dupes that I could find on their website, plus this Desert Dusk palette dupe, and I'm very excited to show you this palette. This is how it looks like. It comes with this paper outer packaging. It's called Persian Violet, and you can pretty much tell straight away that they used the same packaging as the Makeup Revolution Reloaded palettes do. I think this is very straight to the point, simple but handy packaging. There's no extra space between the shadows, you just get a lot of product, and because the top is transparent, you see straight away what's inside. So I really don't mind this generic packaging because it just makes sense. On the other hand, this Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette packaging is probably one of the most beautiful packaging I have ever seen. It's just gorgeous. Her eyelid is shimmery and her headpiece is shimmery, and it's just such a gorgeous packaging. These are the shades inside. I absolutely love these shades, especially some of the duochrome ones. Now, bear in mind, my palette is a couple of years old at this point. I've had this palette for a while, so it doesn't perform as it originally did. But even when I first got it, I did have problem with a couple of the shades. The shades that absolutely sold this palette for me were Twilight and Retrograde, and I expected a gorgeous shimmery duochrome color, and that's unfortunately not what I got. Those are basically the 2 worst performing shades. Then we have this silly glitter shade here as well, which is just whatever. And then you have Celestial and Nefertiti, which I believe they were better when I first bought this palette, but they're just not really good shimmery shades. Those really shimmery, glittery shades in this palette don't really perform well. The only 2 that are okay are Angelic and Kashmir. I do quite like these 2. And then you have these more velvety shades like Blood Moon, Royal and Turkish Delight. They're quite good, so it's the formula. Unfortunately, in this palette you don't get the best formula, even though when you first look at the palette it's absolutely gorgeous. The performance is not the best, and all of that for £56. So the reason I am looking for a good dupe for this palette is not solely the price point, but it's also the performance. If I could find something cheaper with these shades that also performs better, that would be an absolute win. And I feel like this Technic palette is really not bad. Now, in the Desert Dusk palette you get 18 shades. In this palette you get 15. So some of the shades will obviously be missing. You also get shades like this dark purple, which are not in the original palette. So there are gonna be shades missing. For example, that stupid glittery shade, thanks God, missing. But then there are other shades as well, so it's not 100% dupe, but the shades that they are duping are actually really well duped colors. If you look at my eye makeup look today, I don't think you could tell that I used 2 different eyeshadow palettes to create this look. So this eyeshadow palette, by the way, officially retails for £6, but you can pretty much pick it up for £4. All you need to do is go on eBay or go to TK Maxx and you will be able to purchase it for less. If you cannot find the palette you're looking for though, or you just aren't able to pick it up in store, it retails for £6 online officially. The Huda Beauty palette, like all of Huda's palette, was made in Italy. It contains 25.2 grams of product and it has 12 months shelf life. The Technic palette contains 2 grams of product in each pan, which is really, really big. The only pans I have that are larger than this are my Natasha Denona palette pans. So overall, in the 15 pans, you get 30 grams of product for £6. This palette was of course made in China, like almost all of the dupe palettes, and they promise to have 36 months shelf life with this palette, but as I mentioned many times before, I would pretty much use every single eyeshadow palette for 36 months. So once again, this is today's eye makeup look. This eye was completed using the original palette and this eye was completed using the Technic palette. I think they turned out absolutely identical. I really enjoyed using this dupe palette. I'm gonna very quickly show you now the swatches. The bottom row is the Huda Beauty shades, the top row is the Technic shades. As you can see, most shades applied technically identical or very slight differences. However, some of them, as I said before, are missing from the Technic palette. Without further ado, I'm gonna jump into completing this eye makeup look. I'm gonna talk you through each shades I used and what my experience was with each shades. And once we're done completing the makeup, I'm gonna come back here and I will tell you my final thoughts about these two palettes. As always, I'm gonna be using the more expensive palette on this side of the face, which is today going to be the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. And the more affordable palette on this side of the face, which is today going to be the Technic Persian Violet palette. I already primed my eyes, so I'm ready to get started. The first shade we're going to be using is gonna be Musk, and I'm gonna be applying this shade all over my crease. Now we have a similar shade in the Technic palette. It's not exactly the same color. This one is a little bit darker and definitely a little bit more brown and less of a gray shade. But we are going to be applying another color on top of this one. So I believe it's not going to make a massive difference. It's going to be good enough to use, and this is definitely the shade that's supposed to dupe the other one. So I'm going to take this shade now and repeat on the dupe side. Yeah, once it's applied to the eye, you can definitely see that this is much more of a brown shade, but as I said before, once you add the other shade on top of it, no one's going to be able to tell the difference. So the next shade we're going to go in is going to be Amethyst. We do need to be a little bit more careful with this color because it is a purple shade. It can go wrong if you're not careful. So I'm going to take a little bit of Amethyst and basically just work it into the same area where we used the mask before. And I'm going to use the same brush as we did with the first shade. And as I said, I just add this color to the crease and to my outer V, repeating the same thing that we did with the first shade, but this time we're gonna be using significantly less because we need to be careful with this color, and we are gonna go back and work more with this color after the cut crease is done. Right now we just wanna place it down in the area where we want it to be. This shade in the Technic palette is here, and this seems to be a very good dupe, so that's why I said that the difference in the first shade isn't really going to matter, because by the time you apply this one on top of it, it kind of will balance out the differences. I think the only difference I can see right now is what I always experience with these dupe palettes, that it's grabbing to the bare skin wherever it can, and because I'm applying it with windscreen motions, you can pretty much see that that whole area is covered in the eyeshadow, whilst on the other side you have darker and lighter areas and it just looks a lot better done. But I mean, this is not just this eyeshadow palette, it's all of these dupe palettes pretty much, so I am not surprised at all. As you can see, if you apply a bit more pressure, you can pretty much flick away that color. So if you find that the eyeshadow is too overwhelming, just try to remove a bit of it and apply more in the area where you actually want it to be. I think that looks quite alright right now. Alright, so now I'm gonna go off camera and I'm gonna apply some of the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in the shade Snow to prepare my cut crease. Alright, now that the cut crease is done, we are gonna go and apply 2 shades on top of it. The first one is going to be Eden, which will go in the middle part of it, and we're gonna work this together with Amethyst to create a beautiful transition. And after that's done, we're gonna take Angelic and we're gonna set the inner part of the cut crease. This is a more shimmery version of Eden, so it's gonna look gorgeous closer to the inner corner. And once this is all done, we're gonna repeat the same thing on the dupe side as well. So first I just pat on some of Eden. Then I'm gonna take some of Amethyst on a pencil brush and start working the two into each other. And after that I take Angelic. Now let's see the dupe side. Once again, the shade Amethyst is here, the shade Eden is here, and the shade Angelic is here. And we're gonna repeat the same thing. Take Eden in the center, work it together with Amethyst, and then add Angelic in the inner corner. Alright, so what do you guys think? I think they are absolutely identical. I'm gonna go off camera now. I'm gonna apply my face makeup because lately I started doing my eyes first and after that the face, and I just feel like it works a lot better that way because my highlighter, my foundation, concealer, they're not gonna be disturbed by all of the makeup falling on the face. So I'm gonna go off camera now and do the face makeup as usual, and then I'm gonna be back. We're gonna finish the eye makeup under the eyes and we're gonna add some nice and shiny shade in the inner corner, and once that's done I will tell you my final thoughts. Alright, so as you can see, the face makeup is now done, but we're still missing the under eyes and the inner corner, so we're gonna do that now quickly. On the under eye, I'm gonna take the shade Musk and just basically apply it all over. Once again, in the dupe palette, the shade is here. And in my inner corner, I'm gonna take some of the shade Celestial. And in the dupe palette, the shade is here. Alright, and now I'm gonna go off camera one more time because I need to apply some eyeliner and mascara. Once I'm done, I'm gonna be back with the completed look and I will tell you my final thoughts about these two palettes. Alright, so here is the finished look. I think absolutely no one on this planet could tell that I'm wearing two different eyeshadow palettes. The performance of the dupe palette was really, really good. I was very happy with this palette. Now obviously I have reviewed other dupe palettes in the past. I did really like the You Can Be Twilight Dusk and the Bad Habit Athena dupes previously. However, at least here in the UK, Technic is the most accessible because Bad Habit went out of business. There is a really limited stock at the moment, and the You Can Be products you will have to order from China and either pay extra or wait till you receive it. Whilst with these Technic palettes you can pick them up quite affordable and you will be able to receive them within a couple of days, or you can just pop into any TK Maxx store and you will probably find them. So I was really, really happy with this palette, and I feel like this is the most affordable, accessible, good dupe palette for the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. So if you've ever been interested in the Desert Dusk palette, but for either financial or personal reasons you decided not to pick it up, definitely consider giving this Technic Persian Violet palette a go, because it's a really, really good dupe. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here. And until next time, take care of yourself. I will see you very soon.